students, welcome to Scholar IAS Current Affairs classes. We are back with the important articles of the day. Let's see one by one. The first article is on Ombudsman scheme. So this is related to your GS3 paper as well as it is important for prelims because of the information that is given in this article. First, let's try to understand what are the Ombudsman scheme that are present at right now. So RBI, that is Reserve Bank of India, has three Ombudsman scheme at present. One is banking for banking sector, and next is for non-banking financial companies, and another is for digital transactions. So these are the three Ombudsman scheme that we have at present. Okay, this is important for your prelims. Make sure you remember all these three. So how much is this complaint received? So we have to know this Ombudsman scheme is to ensure that the customers or any other issues, grievances that arise in these sectors are getting addressed. And we need to know what is the current state of complaint that gets received by this Ombudsman scheme. So banking ombudsman actually witnessed about 58% increase in the complaints in 2019-20. So this rise is in relation to the last year. When it comes to NBFC ombudsman, it is experienced about 387% increase in complaints. And for digital transactions, and it has been increased by 120%. Students, these facts are not important, but we have to understand how efficient or how significantly the complaints are getting received against these sectors. So that's the broader idea around it. So we need to understand that broadly the NBFC sector is facing more issues. There are many complaints against NBFC sector when compared to banking or ombudsman digital transaction, and followed next to NBFC is the digital transaction that sees more complaints. So this is the broader thing that we have to understand from this, and we don't need to remember the percentages. But out of all these complaints that have been received, almost 46% are regarded as non-maintainable, and that too of this 46%, two-thirds complaints received by NBFC ombudsman is non-maintainable. So what does that mean? What does that category of non-maintainable complaints mean? Actually, there are three primary reasons when a complaint that is received by the ombudsman is treated as non-maintainable. One is it is not represented properly. Okay, so someone has to represent that complaint. Whoever is going and filing the complaint has to represent himself or herself, or someone on her behalf has to represent, so that the issue gets represented properly. But that is not happening. And also the complainant approach the ombudsman directly instead of first resolving at bank level itself. So what happens is there are stages in how the issues are handled. First, they have to approach the bank or the NBFC or the any payment authority that is involved, payment stakeholder that is involved in this thing. But rather, what happens is the customer or the one who feels that who files the complaint, they directly approach the ombudsman. So what happens is the procedure gets circumvented, and so this also is recorded as a non-maintainable complaint. And also resubmission of complaints that are already dealt. So what happens, even after dealing with certain complaints, after delivering verdict or delivering orders on those complaints, they resubmit, the complainant resubmits the same issues. So this is also categorized as non-maintainable complaint. So to ensure that the complaints that are received gets resolved in an effective way and they are appropriate, they are represented to the appropriate authority, what needs to be done so that the issue gets resolved rather than it getting prolonged because of procedural delays? What needs to be done? So first thing is the relevant financial institution has to be approached rather than approaching the ombudsman directly. The complaint is on whichever banking institution, financial institution, let it be banks or any other financial operator, they have to be acknowledged about the issue and they should be asked to rectify the problems. But only in cases where they are unable to actually give solution, then the complainant should take this issue to the ombudsman instead of directly taking it to them, taking to the ombudsman. And next is the complainants fall within the section 8 of RBI Ombudsman Scheme 2006. Okay, so this is the legislation under which this scheme operates, and this legislation actually deals only with certain items like non-payment or collection of checks, or even non-acceptance of small denominations, or even it can be related to working hours. See, only there are few things that are there are only list of things that are getting taken care by this RBI Ombudsman Scheme 2006 under Section 8. But if you go beyond this, it becomes again invalid. Any other complaint that is not falling under within this ambit would be regarded invalid under this scheme. And moreover, if the complaint is about a third party product, then the respective regulator has to be approached. For example, if let's say an insurance product is being sold by a bank through bank assurance model, in that case, if there is an issue with the scheme or the policy, insurance policy, then IRDA should be approached rather than approaching the bank itself or banking ombudsman. So this is an example that I'm giving. So in case of third party products, then the respective regulator has to be approached rather than approaching the banking ombudsman. So in addition to this, complaints must be filed within 1 year of getting the reply from bank. This is very important, students. Make sure you remember this fact, because this can be asked in prelims as well. So within 1 year, the complaint has to be filed after getting the reply from the bank. And next is, ombudsman cannot be approached if the complaint had approached another authority such as consumer or criminal court. So this ombudsman is not some sort of a parallel authority, rather it's the authority to deal with issues related to issues that are falling under RBI Ombudsman Scheme 2006. So in that case, they should be approached after approaching the financial institution, respective financial institution. The ombudsman has to be approached. But if the same issue is being dealt by some other court, then it gets out of the jurisdiction of ombudsman itself, because a higher authority is dealing with another authority is dealing with the same issue, so it cannot interfere. So this is all about ombudsman scheme article. So you could have seen that there are many points that are more prelims oriented. So approach this article, take these points and make sure that you observe all the points, and when a question is asked on prelims, you're able to answer it. And next things, there are also points that can be asked in mains, but it won't be directly asked on ombudsman scheme. No question will be asked on ombudsman scheme directly. Rather, when a question is asked about the efficiency of banking systems, grievance addressal system, then you can bring up the issue regarding the non-maintainable complaints and the issues related that. Okay, so this is all about it. Now let's move to next article. And then second article is on India and sustainable development. So this is related to GS3 paper again. So here, if you see, the news is about World Sustainable Development Summit 2021. Okay, so this has been inaugurated recently by our Prime Minister, and the theme of this summit is redefining our common future. So these are also important for your prelims. Okay, and you should know that the basic idea behind this World Sustainable Development Summit is that to have a sustainable development that includes everything: the health of the planet, equitable access to everything, all the resources, as well as disaster resilience and technology innovation that are oriented towards climate change, that are able to tackle or help us in during the climate change process. So this is about this World Sustainable Development Summit. Let's try to understand the more points around this summit. So when we say sustainable development, there are two things that are being discussed here. That is the health of the people and as well as health of the planet. Both these things are interlinked and none can survive without the other. Okay. So when we talk in particular, when we talk about health of the planet, basically the conventional approaches of solving the issues related to climate change or saving the planet has failed. So that's why we need a sustainable development model. Whatever sustainable development model that we adopt, it has to be sustainable in nature, that it lasts for long and the future generation benefits out of it. And also investment in youngsters and working towards sustainability is a need for India, because we know the demography of India is high, and in such cases we have to invest on our youngsters, as well as this sustainability has to be integrated along with that. Whenever we speak about sustainable development, there is another terminology that is associated with sustainable development, is the climate justice. So this terminology, this idea of climate justice was inspired from the idea of trusteeship. This is nothing but the growth comes along with responsibilities and compassion. So here is where we know when climate change happens, the poor are going to affect the most, the poor and the vulnerable. Let it be at societal level or at even larger scale, at world global level, the poorer nations or the poorer society are going to suffer the most because of climate change. In that case, whatever growth that the developed economies are enjoying, they has to have that passion to share it with the poorest and help them out of any issues that they face out of climate change. And also it means giving the developing countries the space to grow. So now we know the developed countries have taken so much of the global resource that has actually impacted the that has actually fast tracked the climate change. So now the developed nations has to take up the responsibility to restrict themselves and allow the developing nations to grow so that they don't eat up the development space right now that is available for the developing countries and push all the poor and developing countries to the verge of vulnerabilities of the climate change. And in this line, India has taken certain steps towards climate justice. One among them is the restriction of the emissions by 30 to 35 percentage from 2005 levels. Okay, so this is a significant commitment that India has made, and also it has made a significant progress in the commitment it made for land degradation neutrality. In addition to this, India is also on track in achieving the renewable energy targets by 2030. So these are the efforts taken by India in dealing with the climate justice and climate change. While India taking such efforts to ensure climate justice, it also makes sure that there is equitable access when such restrictions happen. When a sustainable development is a model of sustainable development is taken up, the poorest are not getting affected and equitable access is ensured. So in such a fashion, India is actually trying to ensure 100% electrification. In addition to this, the schemes like Ujala scheme, Jal Jeevan Mission, and also PM Ujwala Yojana, these are actually helping the poor to ensure they get the necessary amenities that might be getting affected because of sustainable development. Because under Jal Jeevan Mission, the households are getting tap connections, as well as under Ujala, they are getting LED bulbs. As well as under Ujwala Yojana, the poor are below poverty, people under below poverty line are having access to clean cooking fuel. So basically, India is trying to integrate sustainable development along with equitable access. And in addition to this, to ensure greener planet, more green energy is given focus. So we cannot keep running behind fossil fuels while thinking about sustainable development. Of course, when the growth depends on fossil fuels as of now, we cannot in the long term we should be able to transit to green energy. And India's deep respect for forest and green cover is actually translating into outstanding results as well. So we know that India's forest reserves, as well as the respect that it shows in our culture, as well as in the policies that take, it also tries to ensure we are accommodative of this sustainable development practices. Along with forest, it also comes the animal. There also comes the animal protection aspect of it, whereby we have separate schemes and even missions to ensure endangered and critically endangered species are protected. Some of the schemes that are mostly related to this protection of lion, tigers, and leopards, even Gangetic river dolphins. So even if you had observed in some articles back, some days back, we saw an article where we saw that population of Gangetic river dolphins are increasing. So these are actually positive results of the efforts taken by the government. And also India at global level has taken many cooperative measures in terms of setting up this coalition for disaster resilient infrastructure, as well as setting up of international solar alliance. So these are some of the efforts taken by India at global level to strengthen cooperation around sustainable development. And these are very important to ensure the future of India as well as the globe are not deprived of the resources that the current generation are enjoying. So this is what the idea behind sustainable development is, and it is very important to ensure renewable energy and environment friendly practices and technologies are brought up by the government as well as at the societal level. So students, this is all about India and sustainable development article. For more articles on current affairs, visit our platform scholar.com as well as subscribe to our channel. And till next class, happy learning. See you. Bye bye.